Sometimes they'll give you Gary, don't give you beans. They'll give you beans, they don't give you the Gary. So a school that is not having even 900 students is supposed to have 3 bags a day to feed 900 students.
And another concern is their food. To be frank, they are not eating any better food at all. So every time she will call, that mommy, I don't have money. The food is not enough and sometimes it's not even good. To be frank with you, this girl left home without stomach pain. But now she will call that mommy, my tummy. She has been admitted at the hospital. They did other tests, but she said the doctors are suspecting it's ulcer. It is very bad. We are not saying they should not eat Gary, but the Gary is too much. And according to the girls, the Gary is dried with some sauce on it. It is very, even home, how many of us could eat those food? They complain that the rice is very small. And the food the girls eat is very bad.
Very pathetic. And it's so sad that the outside world see a different picture, but the inside is a different issue altogether. I think the government should take a look into it. They are not fed properly. They are made to work like horses. I don't know. In fact, I think this is a second prison yard. Even those in the prison, I don't think they go through all this.
Welcome back on the show. That promo you were watching was a promo for a yet-to-be-aired documentary on the state of free SHS, especially as it concerns feeding. But in as much as although the documentary itself has not aired, the Ministry of Education have given us some responses. They're saying that the schools have enough food to feed their students. Joining me in the studio this morning for a conversation on this topic is Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng, PRO for the Ministry of Education. Good morning. It's good to have you in the studio.
Sweetie.
Yeah.
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm okay. And you?
Great. I'm doing so well.
Fantastic. So you saw the promo that just aired before we started the conversation.
Yeah.
Why the swift response? I've been curious about that. The documentary itself has not aired, but there's been a lot of responses and reactions to that. Why do you think that is?
But why should we wait for the issue to deteriorate before we act? At every point, you have to be proactive,
right,
and take your response as positive feedbacks to improve our system. And based on that, we had to respond to the concerns that has been raised. It was even the more reason why we made visitations, of course, under the instruction of the Minister, Dr. Oseduchum, to various schools nationwide to assess the situation for ourselves, ascertain and verify, and of course, provide interventions. If any, particularly when it is found that genuinely those problems do exist. And so at every point, we believe that the media is our friends. We take positive feedback from the media. The media helps us improve our work. This is not the first time we are having a very good relationship with Joy. And so when you bring such a documentary out, we cannot sleep, but just to prioritize the life of our students at every point. And against this backdrop, we have to go to the school. But of course, we have a social contract with the public. So at every point in time when we embark on any initiative, we have to, give the feedback to the people through accountability and transparency.
Right.
And of course, it was also a way of reassuring the parents that we are very committed. Our resolve to addressing whatever challenges that persist remains high. And of course, to also let them know that the situation is not maybe how the outlook has been manifested, but
right.
They should be calm, and we are ready to make sure that.
So you mentioned that you didn't want the situation to deteriorate.
Yes.
That's why you're responding now. Did you have to wait for us to go out there and do our, public interest journalism before you send out teams to assess the situation on ground? Because you're in charge of this, free SHS, feeding our 1.8 million students across the country. Did you have to wait on us to show a promo before you go out and do an assessment of the situation on ground?
Yeah, I think it's also only fair that you also add that I mentioned that we said we didn't want the situation to deteriorate.
Right.
Particularly when we go out there and make our findings and realize that those findings or whatever has been put out there is genuine. So it was, it was predicated on a certain condition. The fact that a concern has been raised, as a responsible leadership, the first thing that you have to do is to prioritize the interests and the lives, of course, the well-being of your students, and make sure that even if it is found to be true, you provide that intervention. So our first priority was to provide that intervention. That is if it's found to be true. But to the contrast and to the contrary, we went there, and the findings and the outcome that we found was quite different. But
really, what did you find?
It's not even. It was quite different, as in we are interested in the fact that our findings reveal some facts that are in opposition to yours. No, our interest is that when we went there, we realized that the condition was actually stable, because in terms of stock, schools that we visited, and again, it will interest you to know that beyond even our nationwide visitation, we also activated our reports and complaints mechanism so that we're able to get feedback across all 1,200 schools. Of course, even with regards to such a complaint and reporting mechanism, you may have its own challenges, but generally, if you look at all schools, the feedback, particularly from our visitations and monitoring and the reports that we have from other schools, shows that there is enough and adequate supply of food. And so, for that matter, parents should not be so worried. We are in charge.
Which school did you go to? Because some of the pictures I saw, I know some of our reporters here in-house were part of the team that went to assess the situation on ground. I think even at Laboni Senior High School, Kenneth JC was there.
Yeah, Kenneth was there.
No, it was, yeah.
Yeah, it was Kenneth.
I saw a picture of an empty plate. The title of this yet-to-be-aired documentary is called Empty Plates.
You saw a picture
I saw a picture of an empty plate. It was green.
Yes, so
and you're saying that,
it depends on the interpretation that you place on it. If you see an empty plate, ask yourself whether it was before 7 or after 7.
But I'm making a point. I said all that to say that perhaps if you had waited to see the content of the documentary, it would not be something entirely different from what you're anticipating. Perhaps it's just actually representing the situation on ground. Some of the students who spoke on a news bulletin said that it's not that they don't have food, it's the inadequacy of food and the unbalanced meals that they're serving. You saw that thing, the video that was showing.
People have
something like
contested
water with brown some substances on it.
It looks like shito. Granted, without admitting that it is shito.
Yeah.
Schools don't even serve shito in the first place. It's not part
Schools
of their
don't
menu.
serve shito.
No, it's not part of their menu. And
right. So let's get into
if you look at the bowls. Come to think of it, why were those videos not captured in the dining hall? But me,
some of them were in the dining hall.
No, but the food with worse conditions, particularly this one, on the face value, clearly. Nobody will endorse, no matron, and our hardworking headmasters will not endorse the preparation of such foods. But bottom line is that we see the media as our collaborators.
Okay.
We see the media as people that we work with. And so at every point when you bring feedback, and we also impress upon you to get us, particularly, for instance, list of schools affected, it is not in a way to suggest that the work of the media, maybe we are throwing aspersions or questioning the credibility of your work. No, we are only saying that whatever you have within your sleeves, get us the list of those. Because, I'll be a liar to sit here and make it look like I know what is happening across all 1,200 schools. We are not running an entirely mechanized system where, for instance, it's like robots who have to supply food to point A, point B, and then feedback. No, we are not running an entirely mechanized system. At every point, there is also a little bit of human interface in it. And as soon as you admit that there is a human interface in it, you may have one or two challenges. Right. But our major responsibility is that when those challenges come, we quickly intervene. It was even the more reason why we wanted and insisted that we would have been happy that Joy gives us the list. Now we are getting to know that the main point is not even about shortage of food. It's right now on nutrition and adequacy and quantity.
You can only speculate. We don't know.
No, you just mentioned.
I'm saying that if you had waited to watch the documentary, perhaps the content.
So you are not very sure. Then I won't lie.
I'm not saying I'm not very sure, but let's get into the provisions of this free SH policy, especially on feeding. Last year, we saw former finance minister say that about 8.4 million Ghana cedis have been spent on the free SHS policy. How much out of that, the actual expended figure, goes into feeding? And then we can break down meals
I mean, to be fair, I will have to get you a proper briefing when it comes to funding.
Right.
I don't have such facts offhand.
No problem.
I will need.
But do you know what meals the school authorities are supposed to be serving these children?
So, I mean, let's take it even from the supply or the distribution chain mechanism. Understand that at every point there are two main agencies responsible for the supply of food to schools. We have the National Buffer Stock, an agency under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Bright Champos Ministry, and of course GCS, which are responsible for supply of about 70% of food items to these schools. The remaining 30% are perishables. If I refer to the 70% earlier, those are non-perishables. Grains, rice, cereals, what have you, beans and co. But when we talk about the remaining 30%, those are the perishable food items. So in even those ones, it is not the Ministry of Education or any of our agencies that supplies. We send the monies directly to the schools. And then the schools themselves procure or purchase those items.
Have you consistently been delivering
As of now, I am confident, and I have a good news for you. The good news is that we have made an up-to-date payment of the perishable food items in days of payment.
When was that? When was this?
No, we don't owe even up to date.
All right.
So the point is that when these food items goes to the schools, of course, coupled with the perishable food items, the schools will have their own menu. You see, out of these 18 food items, it is possible, and that's where we make the little admissions. For instance, when I went to Greater Accra, I was in charge of Greater Accra. When I went to Presec, Presec happens to be the hub or the distribution center for the region. The gentleman in charge said, every school in Presec has a minimum of at least 15 food items. You see, there are some food items which may be quite seasonal. Because of, as a result of the lean season, at that particular time, you may not get the food items. For instance, peanuts. In Greater Accra, you may not get peanuts in all the schools. So what usually happens is that such a school at some point may have to improvise on their own menu. So if traditionally students were eating peanuts, within that season, they may not necessarily get the peanuts. They are even in charge in terms of the arrangement by the schools themselves. There are even occasions where in terms of the stock, if the stock goes down, the schools themselves have their own internal arrangement where they barter. So a school, for instance, may not have sugar. Say school A. They can take sugar from school B so that when school A receives their supplies, they also balance them. So that barter arrangement even exists. So, these are some proactive and novel way that headmasters and matrons and school leadership are using to help all of us and sustain this very good program that we have. So when the impression is made to look like all is not well, yes, we admit there are challenges, and we are always ready and assure parents that we are always ready to resolve those challenges.
I like that. Okay.
When it's made, the projection is made to look like headmasters don't care, head teachers are doing nothing, matrons don't care. They are just watching students just being stabbed. It becomes quite unfair for me.
I like that you said there are challenges.
Obviously, it's a human institution.
Exactly. So there have been concerns that perhaps if you need to cut down costs to ensure that the students are getting balanced meals, you can remove boarding from this free SHS policy so that we have day schools to ensure that the money is distributed to the right places. What do you think about that?
That's a policy decision. And I would say it's beyond my pay scale.
Okay.
Policy decisions usually comes from cabinet.
Right. So now we've seen videos, reports about some schools in the northern region who grow their own food. School gardens, school farms, they even have livestock. The man said they'd caught about 70,000 catfish, Have the government, the ministry, thought perhaps it's time for us to implement or encourage this among schools, for them to grow their own food? Perhaps that will also help to cut down costs so that our children can eat balanced meals.
I don't think it's a subject that has to only be narrowed even to schools. Was it the Champions time where the axiom was eat what you grow?
Right.
Mr. Sankara too championed it in Burkina Faso during his era. So if you ask me, even though at the level of the ministry, I have not had a briefing specifically on that item, I do not want to narrow it down to the level of secondary schools per se, but even to every homes. I mean, something that, if we look at it, is in the direction of what is right. Why not? It's something that we can all discuss, embrace, and make sure that we make it work. But I don't think it's a subject which has to be narrowed to secondary schools per se. But maybe you should own a farm. I own one. And
right, but let's put a pin in that. Nathaniel Adam is on Zoom with us. He's from the school where they grow their own foods. Good morning, Nathaniel. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Good morning, and thanks for inviting me.
So we're just discussing the issue of feeding in the senior high schools, and what we've seen you do in your schools is to grow your own food. Can you shed a little light on that? When that started, and the progress you've made so far?
Okay, so thank you, and then good morning to your viewers and listeners. The school itself is 10 years, and when we set out to actually raise science students, basic school, develop the interest of children in the sciences, so that we'll have people from that area do the health and the science and all. And so, but to have that kind of education, you need a high standard, fees must be paid and everything. So right from the word go, we were kind of farming and supporting the work. But 6 years ago, we developed the concept of school farm system. And that has been so great for us. When we developed the school farm system 6 years ago, our children, the concept is basically a system where the children are directed and supported to produce what they eat, develop interest in it, and not affect their academic work.
Right.
That is the concept. So 6 years ago, we started in a scale that is, well, because then we have developed a concept for it, and it has been very successful. Very successful. They have their ponds, they have vegetables, they do guinea fowls, they do turkeys, and we have it. So for the last 6 years, our cereals are basically that which is grown by the students themselves, and they love it. You see, they love it and they participate fully in it. It's designed.
What are the cost implications in running this school feeding, this system of feeding your own students with your own produce?
Well, economic cost implication, it reduces drastically. So once your cereals are taken out, once they get protein, because they have guinea fowls, we have layers, and they lay, so a child gets an egg a day to eat. You are about 70% off the cost of feeding. You understand? You're about 70% off the cost of feeding the children in the school. The few things you need, oil, tin, tomatoes, and other things that you have to buy. But main meal, they do their best. And this is just 150 students maximum for the last 6 years. And they are doing this great work at the basic level. That's another thing. At the basic level. And their performance, academic, is great.
Right.
It's good as well. Yeah.
So for your school, for example, do you benefit from some of the free SHS or free school feeding policy? Do you benefit from some of the things that are distributed?
Yeah. So this is a basic school. It's a junior high school.
Oh, right. Okay.
So this is a basic school, and it's a non-profit, so a basic non-profit institution. Yeah. So we don't fall under the SHS system. So we don't benefit from that here.
I mean, what you're doing is admirable, but do you think that we can effectively implement this in senior high schools across the country? Or why do you think the government should emulate what you're doing?
We have done this for 6 years. Initially, it was just a small thing, like the PRO in the studio is saying everybody should be involved, not just school. Initially, it was small, but once we got into it and developed the concept, which doesn't interfere in the academics, look, patriotism of the children, teamwork is developed. It's even enhancing the academic performance. And for me, the great part of it is their taste for Ghanaian food, right from that level, is developed. So they eat local rice, they eat their local, they eat what they grow. And so from this level, their taste for Ghanaian meal, and so it even goes into the economy, reducing import and all of that. And so I think it's a laudable thing. Once we discuss the concept and it works out well, it's just about management. And once it is managed well, we have been able to do it. And so if we have been able to do it for these years, for these children, why can't it be done? You understand? Agric is our backbone. Agric is everything. And so right from the basic level, I think that we should encourage the children, get children involved in what all we have is our soil. And once we develop it, it helps. And it's helping them even become better academically.
Okay. Thank you, Nathaniel. Now, we are reviewing the feeding under the free SHS policy. It's time, we've opened the phone line so that you can join in the conversation, because this is about all of us. What are your thoughts? What do you think, especially about the school farming or school garden system where students can grow their own produce and feed themselves? But let me come back to you in the studio, Kwesi Kwarteng.
Yeah.
If we're supposed to implement this, I mean, should the ministry or government decide to adopt something like this? I know that is an issue of land and some resources to start. Give me a sense of what you think about this.
I mean, particularly with my visitations to most senior high schools, and of course, I mean, using my own school, Konongo Mase, example, I believe that I don't think it should become much of an issue, because a lot of the schools have a lot of spaces. Okay. I mean, I have my own reservations even about in terms of the school's planning architecture, in terms of the usage of land. But that's not an official position, so I cannot put it out. Because I feel that maybe as time goes forward, we should even maximize the use of the land and probably be looking at high-rise buildings and other things. I'm sure it's the more reason why, if we, at the basic school level, Dr. Osedochum has also started an intervention where now we are building the...
You have to tell me about this intervention in a bit. We have a caller on the line. Abdul, good morning. Thanks for joining the conversation.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Talk to me.
Yeah, this is Abdul Ganiu Mankarwo calling you from Savannah region. I will say good morning to you and good morning to your viewers out there, and good morning to my senior brother, the PRO of Education Directorate, Education Ministry. You see, all these things, in terms of the free senior high school, there is nothing that you will be in without having problems. The only thing you do is that President Akufo-Addo has done free senior high school for each and every citizen for this country. And all of us, we are benefiting on it. We shouldn't be expecting that there won't be challenges. Definitely there will be challenges. The only thing we can do is, how are we coming together to help the government to solve those problems? But as of now, my sister, people, those who were coming from the north, now 5 northern regions, anytime there was a school fee, it was preventing a lot of people not to go to senior high school. But as of now, each and every young guy or young girl from each and every house in the 5 northern regions, we are benefiting the free senior high school. We have people, our daughters, our sons are benefiting from it. So the only thing we can also do is that let's see how we will support the government to help to solve those problems. That is the only thing that we can do now. But the president has given us an opportunity to go to the senior high school. That is a big opportunity that the president has been giving us. So we too can come on board to help to execute the president's agenda. That is the only thing we can do.
Right.
But this free senior high school has come to stay. And I know if whoever wants to dissolve free senior high school will get problem in this country. So let's give the man applause and support him and give him encourage him to do more so that we can also benefit the education in the 5 northern region here. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for contributing to the conversation. Mr. Wetukwadze, I have to let you go, but yeah,
just a quick one. Talk about the northern region. You see, we didn't steal the free SHS program. Today, we are now talking about enrollment to senior high schools, now jumping to 94% in Northeast. In Savannah, it's 94%. In Upper East, it's 92%. In Northern Region, it's 90%. In Upper West, which is the lowest, is 89%.
Right.
Unprecedented.
Okay.
Superb. So yes, we may have 1 or 2 challenges, but the overall performance as a people, we should be proud of ourselves.
Exactly. Nobody's saying the policy in itself is bad. It's just there are some challenges, implementational challenges that need to be fixed. But thank you for joining us. We're just reviewing the feeding under the free SHS policy with the PRO for the Ministry of Education. Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng was my guest. Thank you so much for passing through. Right. But there's more on this show coming up. Please stay with us.